first one I did was a bit discombobulated. I apologize. I must have been really ADD that day. I know I always am, but it was not in order, and I was bouncing around too much. So I'm going to try to make it more focused and make sense. I looked at that and I was like, oh, I need to redo this one. So I'm sorry about that. But I'm redoing it and I'm making it right. So we're going to show you a few tips that you can do. And also, before I get into that, it's something to be said about listening to actual wolves and then to really know what they sound like. Get that sound in your head. Don't just listen to me. Listen to actual wolves. And also record yourself when you think you've gotten somewhere, because you don't always sound like what you think you sound like. And I was guilty of that myself when I was learning it. So I did realize exactly what it sounded like until I recorded it, listened back. And you can get free apps on your phone nowadays that you can just record, and they work phenomenally. You don't have to pay anything. So you know, it's something to be said about that, because you can listen back and say, oh yeah, I made a mistake there, let me fix it. You don't always know, you know, just how different you sound until you record yourself. So anyway, moving on to the actual tips that we're going to do. I'm going to talk about what they mean to, what the howling means. Now, I did a growling and howling one together once, but I didn't have time to really break apart what each individual howl stands for and what it means, you know, behaviorally. So as we go through that, we'll talk about that a bit. The most iconic one that I think people are used to hearing is that kind of three-noted and that we're not going to start out with that one, because that one's got a bit more things that you have to add to it to make it your voice crack like that. So we're going to start out easy, but we are going to get to that one. And then we're going to talk about some other ones too that other people may not, especially people who don't have wolves in their area, may not realize. There's a really easy one that's just kind of a sliding scale kind of. It's typically used when a wolf is either passing through an area to let other wolves know, hey, I don't mean any harm, I'm just passing by. Sometimes also it's used to attract a mate. But really it's the essence of, you know, it's a friendly howl that you're just saying, okay, I'm here, but I don't mean any harm. You know, that's this kind of, so. The friendlier ones are usually higher pitched, and the more territorial ones are usually lower pitched, or at least stay lower for a longer period of time. Most of these you actually don't you don't move your lips much at all, except for the rally howl. The rallying howl, you do have to move your lips a bit, but most of these howls you barely move your lips. And you watch the wolves, and you know, unless they're doing some kind of rallying howl, they don't move their lips too much either. And that's the biggest hurdle. I don't know why, but that's one of the biggest hurdles when I try to teach people face to face, and they want to go ow, you know, with the lips. They do not move your lips. I'm gonna make the same sound I just made, and I'm gonna be like a dumbass human moving my lips, the same exact sound. See how dumb? Your lips change it a lot. Your lips, it's the same exact sound. Same sound in my throat. All I did was move my lips too much. Another trick is that your tongue is touching the roof of your mouth, and it's like think of a bowl. Your tongue is literally in the shape of a bowl, and it's touching the roof of your mouth. Your throat has to be really wide and really open. If it's not, it's almost like you're yawning. It's that open. You just yawn for a minute. Try to force yourself to yawn. Go. Okay, feel how open and wide your throat is. That's kind of what it's like. Yeah, I have a bit of a double chin, so I don't think it's going to do much justice, but I can show you it a little bit. See how wide it expanded, and I'll actually expand it before I even begin to to howl just because it's I don't know, it's habitual at this point. But anyway, so we're gonna start out with the easy one, right? The sliding one. Okay. What I want you to do first is a sound that almost anybody can make, and then you're gonna try to shape it slowly into sounding more wealthy. Okay. So first, just make the ordinary sound that anyone can make. Woo! Do that. Okay. Do that several times. And then try to see just ever so slightly how to change it back and forth. You have to do a bit of some of this is just trial and error to get it to sound, instead of like that, like this. Okay. Okay, now we're gonna do the rally howl next. Well, no, let's do a 3-noted one next, because that takes the same exact thing we just did. Okay, so we're gonna do what we just did, and we're gonna force our voices to crack up and down. Crack your voice up is more pressure. It takes more pressure. Cracking it back down takes less pressure, and everybody's vocal cords is different, but you just have to kind of find that sweet spot, and you don't know exactly when it's going to crack either. You're just waiting for the force of air to change. So if you can't get your voice to crack on purpose, and I had trouble with this at first. Sounds dumb, but it really does work. So if you can't get it to crack, then do exercises where you're going and just keep doing that for a few minutes. Okay, get your voice warmed up. Your voice is used to cracking now, and it has to be really relaxed. You have to be extremely relaxed to get it to crack. Okay, so once you've done, you sound like a bloody idiot, but once you've done that a few times, okay, then you're gonna use the same kind of sound we just did. Okay, don't add the voice crack yet. Just go up and down with it. So go like this. Or lower if you want to. Okay, and now we're going to add the voice crack to it. Okay, so it goes by the force of air. So basically it's the same exact notes that we're doing that we just did before. I'm just pushing more air out to go up, and then less air to go down. You have to, and you really do have to wait on it to go down. You don't know, especially to know when it's gonna do, when or if it's gonna go. It doesn't always go back down. It's really going back down for me is harder, because you're relying on the air to slowly get less and less and less until it finally cracks. I've not found a way to do that at Women Will. I could sit here and predict when it's going to happen, and I could be 3 seconds off. So getting it to crack up is usually easier, because you've got more control of it. You're not just sitting there waiting. You're forcing the air. So you're forcing, and when it goes back down, you're not adding anything to it. You're just waiting for it to fall. And it really does help. If you can't, it helps to do this, and maybe that's why wolves do it. I don't know. It helps to really to do that if you can't get it to crack both ways. I don't know what helps it about that. If you go back down, it does. It just is ever so slightly easier to tilt it. So I tilt it up to go up, I tilt it down to go down. Okay, so now we're going to do the rally howl, which is the fun one. And actually the rallying howl for me is actually, it's easier to do once you learn it. It's because it's got a different part of your throat. It's slightly, and it's just, I don't know, it's just easier altogether to, it takes less, I don't know, practice. You'll hear pups make this howl before they do the other howl because it's easier to do. The rally howl, a lot of times they're doing dominance, they're asserting dominance, or they're being dominated, and that is why they're you know, snapping around at each other and everything as they're howling, and that's what makes all those odd sounds. So I guess Omega would sound more like this. And an alpha might sound, or at least somebody that's higher rank would kind of sound like this. So it's got a lower pitch to it. There's no yips or whining in it either. And the basis for that, and I just apologise, it's getting dusk again. I always time this wrongly. I apologise. So the way that the basis for that sound is actually this right here. If you can do that, then you can do this. So, takes a bit of practice, but once you get it, it's like one of those things that just clicks, and it's actually easier than the other one. So a summoning howl, and by the way, that three-noted one, you know, if it's lower pitch, usually it means territorial. That summoning howl, the difference between the three-noted one and the summoning howl is that usually doesn't go as low at the end, and it goes up high, and it just stays at one note for a really long time, and that's calling the pack to you. So that's the summoning howl. It could be that you're trying to call your pups back because you're getting into trouble. It could be that you find food and you're trying to call the pack to where the food is. Got dusk on me, so I had to turn on this awful light. But anyway, the difference between, I talked about it a bit, but the difference between, we show you, I've still got a bit of time, demonstrate just a regular howl and in the three-noted, and one that is three-noted that actually could be territorial. So first we're going to do the regular one. Okay, that's just, you know, kind of average howling. It doesn't necessarily mean territory. This one though does. It goes lower for longer, and especially this one does. Very, very low. It never even goes high at all. And a lot of times with that, you often hear like, and that, you know, really low rally sound, you know, especially accompanied with that, is territorial as well. So last thing to do is just kind of have fun with it. Just kind of mix everything together and have fun with it. You can howl along with yourself, over top yourself 2-3 times, and you sound like an actual wolf pack. It's awesome.